president now.
So what we can do is we can actually
Well,
work
beyond.
to
Now, come on,
create
talk about
common
it.
initiative groups. If we create
Mm-hmm.
common initiative groups at every level, and then we have branches of these common initiative groups in every community, and we have maybe an umbrella organ that manages all these common initiative groups and speaks for them, then we can say we will manage that price issue effectively, because the cocoa will be collected from the farmers through their common initiative groups within their area or within their village, taken to the subdivisional level,
Mm-hmm.
taken to the divisional level and to the regional level, and the cocoa will be transported and then sold as one. You understand? When you have a larger quantity, you will be selling cocoa in Cameroon as a country,
And
not
then
as
you
individuals.
go.
You understand? That will give us a higher leverage in the market. That's the first thing. Secondly, technical know-how will be exchanged easily. Inputs, we will buy inputs at one. We can even manufacture internally, because if we have, we can global, and we are sure to sell to our members. They will be able to convince investors to invest, or we can take whatever level we are placing on the cocoa as association fees for running the association to invest in manufacturing our own inputs. You get it? So there is a lot of benefit in doing it in that system, and I think that is a system that works. And I'm not saying so because I think so or I feel so. I'm saying so because the same system has been applied in the north for cotton. I think AMS has applied the same system in the far north for cotton. In areas like Turu, Moscota, Maxima Bass, they have applied those things and it works. You get me? So we just need to replicate, I think, in the words of Sheikh Anta Diop, that we take it and we try to tweak it in a way that will work according to the indigenous realities of the South. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you. I think you're um Larry, you're welcome. You said something. You said if that must be done, we must start by killing political influence. What do you mean by that? Before we go to our main topic for the day. What do you mean by that? The Larry, go, can you hear me? Oh, he's
When
saying
don't
that.
block me on.
No, you ready for Saturday. Not even you said. Somebody the Lion Eagle had mentioned something about what you said before B. That's why I'm asking him what he meant by that. You look at the comment section, you see.
Asking if he let me talk, so let him talk.
He said, let me text.
Yeah, he said he's going to text. Maybe where he is, he can't talk.
Yeah, you can talk.
So be mommy, the whole thing for this situation are ego. If you can just remove some of
That's why
that
this
ego,
is crazy. Hey.
it's ego.
Mhm.
See, I have spent most of my adult life in the remotest localities in Cameroon. I've done all 283 subdivisions,
Mhm. Chris,
and
you're
I've come
welcome.
to realize that whatever project that comes on
Mhm.
in Cameroon and that fails is egocentrism. Yeah,
That's
you
what I'm
understand?
saying.
It's egocentrism because there are some few people now that want to pounce on it. Sometimes when you come, it's good.
That's
Even the elites will leave the town to want to come and benefit from it in the village.
mhm. Chris, you can follow the host. You came up, but you're not following the host yet. You're welcome, by the way. Just go ahead and follow the host.
Yes, the lion eagle, it has to be done in every way to benefit people. But just know that in Cameroon, political influence in Africa has never been above uh, um, uh, um, citizen influence. It's just that the
That's what
citizens
I'm
have tied
saying.
their hands and given to the politicians. It's only in Africa that we believe a minister or a government official is higher than the population.
Okay,
And they
Mohammed.
feel higher. They feel higher because we let them feel so, we let them act so, we let them do so. The day we start taking back that power, the day they will stop feeling like that.
Hmm. But anyway, it's sad though. But anyway, let's go to our main topic. You all ready? If anybody that would like to join the topic, please send your request and come up. Do so and connect with the host by sending your me and then follow, like, share. So the topic for today is: can African countries reform their system around indigenous values without weakening constitutional rights, equality, and modern state governance? So, should African countries completely reform their legal system to reflect indigenous values, or is that a dangerous step backward? So, for decades, many African nations have operated under a legal system inherited from colonial powers, systems that don't always reflect the culture, tradition, or realities of the people. But here's the tension. Pan-African thinkers like Kwame Nkrumah argue that Africa must define itself through its own values and identity. Julius Nyerere pushed for a system rooted in African communal life. And so other name they were no Hukola me na ndonoko no Hukola. And Gwasi Weredu challenged Africans to rethink imported ideas entirely. So the question is not just legal, the question is not just legal. Can Africa truly be free with colonial laws, or does replacing them risk weakening justice? So let's be clear. This debate is not about rejecting modernity. It's about asking, should Africa legal system be rebuilt around indigenous values like community? Oh, TikTok, do me so. How could people alive you ask me question? Indigenous value like community justice, mediation, and tradition. Or should they maintain modern constitutional system shaped by global standard? So this is identity versus functionality, culture versus universality, and history versus future. So let's be clear. This debate is not about rejecting modernity, it's about asking. Now, let's go. First question. Is Africa still mentally colonized because it continued to use foreign legal system? Who is coming? Oh, Don is coming. Let me see
Do
who
you
wants.
mind if I go first?
Mr. That one that has a network that we need to massage. Can he go first, Mr. Fobi? Man, the let him go first. He's in Cameroon, so his network always
I,
don't
I
love
don't die
his.
for your hand. I
Huh?
don't die for your hand. So
his,
I
ne-
said I don't die for your
his
hand.
network his network need to be massaged and caressed.
Yeah. So okay,
But
please come again with the question.
so based on so is Africa still mentally colonized because it continued to use foreign legal system?
Yeah.
What's your take?
I think the use of foreign legal system is a form of mental colonization and oppression even. You understand? Because I just want to believe that God made us diverse with our different skin colors, different hair types, eye types, different languages and cultural backgrounds, because He wanted us to be each to be unique in our own ways. You understand? So the fact that you take your own stuff and you put it aside entirely and uses another person's stuff,
already weakens you. It gives an influence over, it gives that person some soft power and influence over you, a cultural influence over you. It inclines you to start thinking about that person. I think this Eurocentric behavior and a consumer behavior we find in Africa today, it stems partially from the imported legal system. You get it? It stems partially from it. The way of doing business. I think we need to learn to look at. Sheikh Anta Diop insisted that we should look inward. That we should study our African systems and look for a way that works with our own indigenous beliefs and cultures. And I think that would be the right way, because in many cases, for example, in Cameroon, there are many cases where the law of the land conflicts with the culture of certain persons. You understand? So we need to look at that closely. We need to try to indigenalize our legal system, because focusing on this Eurocentric, this imported legal system brings a mental toll on us. It makes us to want to think like them, because the law governs, legislation governs every aspect of life. And once the legislation is foreign, every other aspect will be foreign. The doing business will be foreign. Political structure will be foreign. Economic environment, economic structure will be foreign. Our social structure will be foreign, because the law governs all that. So my take here is we should either do away completely, or we should take a step back and do a strategic rethink over it. We can use some of the influence from it. We can get inspiration from it to come out with our own codes, but not copy from it or use it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Anybody got a he still got like 2 minutes. Anybody got a question for him? 2 minutes was time to ask him. No? Okay. Madam Mandy, go.
Okay, so y'all are going to hate my answer, but I'm prepared. I
Okay.
think that often Africa throws out the baby with the bathwater. I don't think westernization is, I think that a lot of times modernization and Eurocentric or westernization are looked at as the same thing. And I don't believe they are. I don't think that just because it's intrinsically Eurocentric that it's wrong, but I don't think that because it's Eurocentric that it's always right. I believe there are benefits to all systems and that we can all learn from each other. For example, as someone who is studied in global affairs, FGM, female genital mutilation, is something that is still widely accepted in some countries in Africa. And it is a known harm to women. It is a human rights issue, and it is not shown as anything beneficial to a woman, her body. It's a cultural practice that is very damaging and traumatizing to women, right? And there are some places that accept that, and some places that thinks that's, culturally accepted. However, is that to say that we should be cutting women like that at 7 years old, 8 years old? I think that on a global scale, looking at just general women around the world, it's something that is generally now, with modernization of health, technology, science, biology, what we know of the human body and how things like that impact us, it is not good. And that's a general statement that I don't think you'd have to be, it doesn't matter your color or your background to know that doing that to a woman is sometimes deadly, right? I think that's something that with modernization of medicine and science, things that have been afforded us because of the advancement of technology, we know. But often those things, people coming into Africa saying, oh, you're trying to stop us from our cultural practices, just because they're from the outside, they're automatically deemed as you don't know, or that's wrong. But it could just be right. I think there are other practices, like I know in Mauritania right now. Mauritania still has some practices of, I don't know if you all know the word, but it's basically force feeding women to become heavy, right? Because that's culturally considered beautiful. It's culturally a practice of having very oversized women from the ages of 3 and 4, force feeding girls with cornmeal and goat's milk and fat and things like that. And it's highly linked to a lot of health issues, lower lifespan, problems with maternity and fertility, etc. Right? And I'm only coming from the perspective of womanhood because I think this is a very tangible thing to think about, where we see modernization and global or Western laws coming in, impacting these areas. And it's often met with a lot of pushback culturally, but it doesn't make it wrong. I do, however, think that bureaucracy is very Eurocentric, and the way that bureaucracy is done is very Eurocentric. And I think that could be reevaluated. I think that the cultural, tribal shaking of hands approach to economy and to business in Africa is something that the West could learn from. I think there's an integrity of cultural backing of products, services, and goods that the West could learn from because the West is I centered, right? But I do think, on the other hand, it's all about balance. So I believe a lot of the issues that Africa faces right now are as a result of holding on to tribal practices in the midst of a modernizing, globalizing world, whereas there has to be a give and take. Because if you want to meet the global market, there has to be a balance. So I would just beg the question that if you take yourself outside and look at no one as the enemy, but everybody as a potential suspect, you can actually gain a lot. And I think that if Africa wants to play on the global market, there has to be a step back to see, how do you integrate or how do you recapture our practices in a way that can meet the global market at standard? Because what Lion Eagle said is true. There are a lot of things that were copied, reprinted, reformatted, bastardized, or salionated. But at the end of the day, modernization has afforded us, with science and technology alone, um, um, and I was just using that as an example. It's not like a concrete example. It's much less common now. But I guess I would just say, I don't think, I think that often Africa hates the West so much that they can't see the benefit in any of it. However, there could be benefits in it, and it would take a very balanced eye to see that not all of it is bad. That's my submission. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Rico. Rico no day. Rico, what do you think? I'm pleading the fifth? No? Rico didn't say nothing. The lion, Nico, can you speak?
Yeah, send the message that I'm pleading the fifth.
Ah, I didn't see the message.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. There you go. Can you speak? Freeways, you're welcome. And if anybody in the comment section wants to come and let me know, I have an account I can drop down. Okay, he said later. Okay. Chris, you want to come? Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Chris, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Send your request. No, somebody coming. FOB, there's another question coming after this. Chris, you're welcome. Where you streaming from?
Streaming from Ghana.
Okay, we're happy to
Yeah.
have you.
All right. That is an interesting topic and interesting submissions as such. You mentioned Kwame Nkrumah in your submissions, but one statement that great man made that I'm still finding it difficult to absorb or to accept completely is that final statement he made at 1957 when the independence was won, that the African man is capable mentally of taking care of his own affairs. I was thinking, and for now, per the evidence that I've gathered, both theoretical and empirical evidence that I've gathered, vividly shows that that statement was a wishful statement, in the sense that the question you asked was that, are we mentally colonized? Hey, I will surprise you by saying that not only mentally, we are mentally colonized, physically colonized, spiritually colonized. We are still under slavery, but in different era or generational kind of slavery. Because I feel that we are not capable as blacks to manage our own affairs. I used to tell people that there is some reasons why Africans, we are suffering and we are going through a lot. If you have the background of economics and other fields, and you have a very complex comprehension of these things, and you're able to put them together and make a perfect analysis of them, you come to the realization that there are some factors which are causing our impoverishness. So I used to tell people that, look at our leaders. Do you know what they do? When you see the West is a society which owns, let's say, a sea. And let's say we, the blacks, we only have an arid arable land. We don't have a sea. But do you know what we do? Copycats. So when we go and see that the West have built a ship, what we do is that we go and copy and cut the whole thing and come and paste. So we saw that they built a ship. We don't ask of the reasons, the rationale behind of that thing they are putting together, those systems they are putting together. We don't know anything about it. We just go uplift it and put it in our area. So if you bring a ship to just an arid land, it's going to be a waste. There's not going to be any use of that ship. But the West built that ship for a reason, because they have a sea. And that brings us to the question that you asked about how we are going to manage our legal systems to reflect our indigenous culture. What did we just do? Look at my country. We just uplifted everything straight from Britain, which directly conflicts our values, our culture, our origin. So the whole system, we are living in chaos, because our daily lives, who we identify ourselves to be, is in total conflict with our legislations. And they don't even make legislations anymore independently. Most of them are being sponsored by the West. When the USAID was being investigated, I heard one story, and they used $10 million to fund, I think, LGBT promotion in a certain country. I've forgotten that country. Because we know what is going on behind the scenes. Our legislation, our parliament, our authorities are not running independently. They are being sponsored by the chess masters. So they are going to make laws which are not even going to be compatible with the people. So this is the case. There is actually no light at the end of the tunnel. Why am I saying this? Because we are running a certain system which is called democracy. I always tell people that democracy, it's not for the weak mentally, but it is for the level-headed. And before democracy, we had a system that we practiced, which benefited us so much, and we were much developed, because you have to know that civilization started from Egypt, and it's in Africa, Ethiopia, and the rest before the whites. So you can see that it was benefiting us. So, but democracy also brings forth to ingrained corruptions. Why? Because you need people to vote for you, to control the people. So now what are you going to do? You are not going to look at what is going to benefit the people anymore. You are going to actually partition the people to know the people who are loud and can come after you. So I call them the beneficiaries of the system. So they are the people that you are going to please. So when you please them, the rest are going to follow. And that is one of the reasons why I'm saying that there's no light at the end of the tunnel. Because if we are still going by this same system, then we are not going to have any better option, any way to make amendments to what we are talking about, our legislation to fit into our indigenous culture, values, and all that. Because even when we go to our marriages and all that, we have the traditional marriages, we have the states or the ordinance marriage and all those kind. It is so much conflicting, because a certain man will go and pick up a woman, take the woman to the household, pay dowries and all those kind of things. Think
What
in
just happened? Okay.
in court. So after doing that, I always tell people that after doing that, then you've confused yourself. That is contradictory. It is no more a traditional marriage, but it is a state marriage. So you see, these couples are going to be confused in the marriage because in their minds, they are traditional people. But in case there is a chaos or misunderstanding or whatsoever in their marriage, that marriage is going to be governed by the state's laws. That is when people are going to suffer in divorces and other kind of things. So to end it all, I'm saying that what we have to know is that there's no way we are going to change this thing. For all of us knowing that our legislation are not in favor of who we typically are, and it is actually creating confusion in us. We wish we could change it, but because there are other people who are beneficiaries to this legislation, which is affecting all of us, and we are running a certain system which is benefiting them, there's no way those gatekeepers are going to allow us to change. But I know it only changes with insurrections. And when I say insurrections, those other countries who through insurrections they became better. Because, mind you, any country which moved from point 1 to 10 did that through insurrections. So if there's no insurrections in these countries which are governed by democracy, there is no going to be any change in these things we are talking about. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that great submission. Appreciate you. Mohammed, what do you say regarding the question? Then we're gonna go. Got the question you have Mohammed, and you got Don Loco, and then I have another question for the panelists coming up.
My people, we celebrate independence. We say we are free. And today, countries like Burkina Faso are rising, challenging foreign control, reclaiming their voice, standing for sovereignty. And that courage, you respect it. I respect it. I know all of you respect it. But I stand before you right now, right? Removing external control is only the first step. Because true freedom is not just about who control the nation. It is about how the nation work for its people. Look at our land in our villages. Land belongs to who? To families, to communities, right? But in the system, land belongs to who? To paperwork. So a farmer can feed the nation and still lose his land. That must change. Look at our resources. Our soil is rich, gold, minerals, agriculture, yet our people remain poor. Why? Because the system of ownership, contract, and distribution do not return value to the people. That must change, I think. Look at the justice. Too slow, too far, too expensive. So the ordinary person gave up. That also must change, I think. So these are bullet point, you know. People will not destroy. We're not here to destroy systems, right? Because destruction without vision leads to chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And chaos is not freedom. We are here to rebuild intelligently, boldly, and unapologetically. Here is the path forward. Land reform for the people. Recognize the community and family land rights. Protect farmers from displacement. Combine tradition with modern legal protection. Resources ownership reform. You need to take that one also in consideration. Renegotiate contract to benefit the nation. Ensure local community receive direct value. Invest resources, wealth into agriculture and youth job. Justice close to the people. Local court with real authority. Faster, affordable access to justice. Integration of traditional and modern system. We have to integrate also. We gotta look at economic freedom also, you know, through agriculture. Because I think that's a big spot that we have as in an advantage form. Our land is still fertile, you know, land. We gonna have land plus training plus tools for the youth. Build local industry like cassava, livestock, food processing, you know, turn rural economy into engines of growth. The truth is, Africa is politically free, but economically and structural freedom must be built. And we have to build it. We are the ones that are going to build it. Not by copying others, not by destroying blindly, but by creating systems that are rooted in our reality, powered by our people, and designed for our future. That is true independence. That is Africa we rise to build. You know what I'm talking about? I must stop here and give the other panelists some opportunity. But I think these are the things that we need to talk about. You know,
Thank you. All right, let me hear from Pretty. You're back.
Yes, I'm back.
You, Dummy, you're welcome. Do you want to chip something? Or we're gonna go to Don. Is Africa still
Maybe the second round.
yeah, the second round question. Okay. Is Africa true is Africa still mentally colonized, Don?
Yes. Mama,
Good morning,
Dummy,
everybody.
dummy, we're coming to you. You're gonna be the next one, not right now. I know you have a lot to say, so hold on. Is Africa still mentally colonized?
Good morning. Yeah,
Okay,
to an
elaborate.
extent, I think 70% were mentally colonized.
Uh, if you, there are just some few countries in Africa that they have their own ways that are doing their things, which happens to be Ethiopia. Ethiopia, the judicial system is rooted from their culture. That is the only country. Liberia, they are practicing the United States system. Then the rest is coming from Europe. Now, if you discover most of the thing, Africa is like a dumping ground for anything from the West. Laws that they were practicing in those days, it may be due to their situation that time, they bring it to Africa. We are still practicing it today. And there's something they're talking about children's right. In Africa, you don't even have a room that say it is my right. You don't have a room. Those are some of the things you keep it there. But they are pushing it to Africa. They are pushing man to man, stuff like that, women to women. They are pushing it to Africa gradually. And we are accepting it. It become normal. Recently, we see our daughter, the first daughter of the nation. She wrote something and we are taking it calmly, knowing that as the first daughter, as she's pushing that agenda very soon, we are going to be that poroso. Those are not our ethics. We have things that they are being supposed to be rooted in our culture. There's a way, like where I come from the Northern region, chieftaincy is hereditary. You cannot fight it. And they are governing our people very well. That is what I was saying, that Cameroon, if we want to practice hereditary system, whether they call it anarchy or whatsoever, let us practice rather than every year they are wasting money into election, manipulating people. At the same time, we are not saying anything. They are confusing us. Let us go to our food, as my brother was saying. Back in the days, we used to have our mother will harvest corn and put it in banda. For the next 10 years, you take it and plant, they will reproduce. Where do we get this idea of genetically modified seed that we are having it every day and yet that nobody is saying anything? That's how they are also gradually, they are colonizing us again. Nobody is saying anything. Let us look into our dressing. Back in the day, you see a lady would dress very well, every part of their body covered. They will not even wear anything like wig or stuff like that. And they were looking very well. Somehow, we become a system that some people will sit somewhere, create something, push the agenda to us. Look like Nigeria, the BBL, that they're running every day. Abroad, we are not even having the BBL.
Thank you.
But we just jump into turning things, we grab it, and it become part of it. I'm telling you, 70%, even little. We are still mentally colonized. How will you explain to me that we are going to make beans in a countryside from battle? But they'll tell me, no, that one is not good. We need fried chips, McDonald's, KFC. We are not free. So when you look the system, we are still mentally colonized somehow, willingly, some of them forcefully. Our parents used to have land, we negotiate with people, we farm together, we don't have problem. Now they came with the issue of land title and stuff like that. Those one we can, I mean, it is good because a lot of foreigners stuff like that. There are some part we can take where it works, we see how it works, we take it. But believe me, 70% of what they are sending to Africa is not for us. Just that we are not excited with the Western world, the mindset, because of the movie we are saying, because a lot of stories that have been told about abroad. When you go to France, you see people that are sleeping on the street, you not believe, but we don't see that on media. But to us, we are pushing that narrative. Oh, people are sleeping on the street. We have people, oh, they are not. Recently, Burkina Faso, they changed their week. They said nobody in the legal mind will be wearing the British, they will think you guys wear when you want to go to court. The lawyers, how they don't call, I don't know how you call it. They said they're not going to see it. So I think 90%, 80%, or let me just say 70%, we are still under colonialism. And we are not ready to change on these things because our president, those that are governing us, they are taking instruction from somewhere, and that's why they are being bad. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Let me go over the prompt again one more time for the people who just came. Domi, you're welcome, and I have what Fifi, the Fifi, you're welcome, and the other people in the comment section. So the topic is: Can African countries reform their systems around indigenous values without weakening constitutional right, equality, and modern state governance? So, should African countries completely reform their legal system to reflect indigenous values, or is that a dangerous step backward? So, for decades, many African nations have operated under legal system inherited from colonial powers, systems that don't always reflect the culture, tradition, or reality of the people. But here's the tension. Pan-African thinkers like Kwame Nkrumah argue that Africa must define itself through its value and identity. Julius Nyerere pushed for system rooted in African communal life, and Kwanzi Wididu challenged Africans to rethink imported ideas entirely. So the question is not just legal. Can Africa truly be free with colonial laws, or does replacing them risk weakening justice? So it's let's be clear. The debate is not about rejecting modernity. It's about asking, should African legal system be rebuilt around indigenous values like justice, community justice, mediation, and tradition? Or should they maintain modern constitutional systems shaped by global standard? This is identity versus functionality, culture versus universality, and history versus future. Now the question again, this goes to Dummy. Is Africa still mentally...
Annie, please, 30 seconds or 1 minute. Let me just chip in something, please, if I'm permitted.
May I ask?
Please, with your permission, if I can say something.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I greet everybody. Now, my worries is when we talk of reforming or rebuilding, it means it had a form. Then the form was maybe damaged, and we have to bring it back to the originality. My question is, do we still know the forms or our forms or the African form, so much so that we can have the power to rebuild or to reform? So we should also emphasize on that, and then we can build from there. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for throwing that light on that. And I think history covers that part. But my question will be to Domi. Is Africa still mentally colonized?
We are still mentally colonized. Yes, that's a yes. And first of all, I
Ela-
want to appreciate the gentleman who just spoke, and there was another gentleman who spoke before as well. Yeah, but the idea we are still mentally colonized. The reason being, we are still chasing the Western life. We are in Africa, but we are chasing Western life. We are thinking like, like I want to be like that, the Hollywood kind of life, stuff like that. That's number one. But number two is it's sad because we have resources. I heard you mention Congo or stuff like that. We have resources. We have gold, we have oil, we have stuff like that. But someone from another place in the world, I don't want to call it West or wherever, they're going to command how our resources are going to get used. They're going to command how much taxes we're going to pay. Nigeria is the most popular country in Africa. Yeah, I could be wrong. And they're very good at producing oil or stuff like that. And one of the most richest people in the world come from Nigeria. Those are figures, facts and figures. And then also in Nigeria, our brothers and sisters from Nigeria, some of them are going through very bad situation with poverty and stuff like that. But it's not because Nigerians are not smart. Nigerians are among the smartest people I know. But the Western nations come into Nigeria because there's oil, there's resources here. And they do that to every country in Africa. The French have been taking resources from Congo. Congo has been a war-torn nation for so many years. Yet Congo is, according to physiologists and people, Congo is the richest one of the richest country in Africa because of their minerals or stuff. But what are we seeing? War, refugees from Congo. I'm in Appleton, Wisconsin. United Nations has been helping a lot of Congolese to come to seek safety in the US. They are running away from their country that is filled with gold and diamonds. So the Western influence in the African continent, in most cases, has not been so helpful. It's pushing the idea of colonization. And France, Portuguese, wherever, Americans, they are all in the ballroom. Hello, how are you? Yeah. So that's why I gave my answer the way I gave it. And I don't think it's going to change soon because it will take a revolution. It will take a revolution to change the mathematics. It's a Pythagoras theory, but it will take a revolution to go back and stuff like that. In the meantime, please find it in your heart to fall in love. Falling in love with you. Like, it's going to be a music. Thank you.
Fifi, you're welcome. Where are you streaming from?
Thank you. I'm streaming from Shenzhen, China.
Okay, we're happy to have you. What made you stop by?
Yeah, thank you. Well, the conversation seemed to be interesting, and I sort of thought that maybe I could add a thing or two to the conversation.
Okay, thank you.
Hopefully, I will make sense. I hope so.
Well, we're happy to have you, and hopefully you do justice to the topic.
Okay, so for starters, I'm Ghanaian. I realize quite a number of the people on this platform, I don't know, but I think you are Cameroonian American, right? All right. So let me start off by trying to look at the topic itself. Can we reform our judicial system around indigenous values without all of that? I think we have to recognize how far the world has moved. We as Africans need to recognize that the Europeans have changed drastically over the last 100 years. And sorry, if I say the Europeans used to practice a monarchy system. So if you study all across Europe, you would realize that practically everything we call a country today used to exist as a monarchy. And up until somewhere after World War II, that's where the last remnants of all these monarchies had to be kicked out. Now, this restructuring of Europe was actually a policy dictate. That is what most of us would not know. It was a policy dictate because after World War II, America had to help rebuild Europe. And if America is helping to rebuild Europe, then it means that America has to dictate the terms. And the capital that was coming from America needed to ensure that the political structure in that space will be able to protect their capital and investment.
Rico, let me use your boss, please.
Can I continue?
Yes, sir, you may. I'm sorry about that.
All right. So this is something that we need to recognize and then realize that European values over the last 50 to 100 years have converged, and it converged and followed the dictates of capital, which was the US. In the case of Africa, the British and the French that colonized us, when they were leaving, actually did something significantly interesting for which Africa will struggle till probably thy kingdom come. If you look at Europe, for instance, a lot of the countries that exist are largely heterogeneous. And even if are largely homogeneous. And even for the heterogeneous societies, you realize that one particular tribe is overwhelmingly the majority. This is something that is overlooked when it comes to nation building, but it is extremely important. In fact, Lee Kuan Yew actually said something in respect of why China would be far better than India. And he said, China has a unified identity built around an over 90% population that belongs to a single tribe or ethnic group, while India is extremely heterogeneous. And so long as India cannot converge to a single path, their development would never meet the pace of China. So now I bring it back to Africa's case, for instance. Look at a country like Nigeria, which we could say is the biggest dysfunctional state in Africa. Nigeria, for one, is struggling because the colonial powers that decided to put these entities together knew very well that the Igbos are significant enough to become a single country of their own. They know that the Yorubas are big enough to be a country of their own. They know that the Hausas are big enough to be a country of their own. But what did they do? They lump all of them up. And even when the Igbos try to separate, these Western powers, knowing very well what they could do, still funded the state to suppress that uprising. Move out of those areas. When people talk about Ghana, for instance, that Ghana is peaceful. What you all don't know is that Ghana is dominantly an Akan state. By Akan, you have an overwhelming majority of Ghanaians identifying by a single culture, understanding a single language, having the same language patterns, and our cultural practices are practically the same. That is the dominant tribe. So if you go through the history of Ghana, right from the south to the north, you would realize a pattern for which Ghana becomes distinctively stable. Even in the midst of all the confusion going on in Ivory Coast and Togo and Burkina Faso, you realize that Ghana is distinctively stable. And it is because the Akans are largely dominant. So can we as a people relook at our judicial system? But the question is, which indigenous system are we talking about? Because we as Africans, after we were grouped into countries, have not been able to unify our thoughts in one direction. If you look at Rwanda, one of the biggest things Paul Kagame has done is to find a way to eliminate the concept of tribal identity, because that was the basis for which they were fighting. Now, that single most important thing of eliminating tribal identity has led to Rwandese fighting for a single cause. And they can now define what forms our cultural values. If you come to Cameroon and you are asking, indigenous values, which values are you talking about? Has Cameroon as a country converged their customary position? Has Cameroon as a country converged their orientation towards a national identity? I have met a lot of Cameroonians in China, and quite a number of those that I've been in class with. You would realize those English speakers and the French speakers, even when we are playing football and it's a single Cameroonian diaspora team, the French and the English in there are having big issues in that squad. So, which conversions are we looking at? It is easy to blame the West, but then again, I would also try to put across that if we want to go back to redefine our national identity, what we could have is that capital, those who hold the capital now, who are investing in countries, are significantly against that path. So you realize that currently Hungary is having significant issues in the European Union because it is holding nationalist views as opposed to a European Union convergent view. So we as a country, you mentioned Kwame Nkrumah. Kwame Nkrumah's biggest problem in Ghana was trying to find a way to create a national identity and unify our cultural values, which was pretty much very difficult. And the very dominant tribe at the time, culturally, went behind the political system and found a way to also assist in Kwame Nkrumah's overthrow. Right? So
No,
if we will make...
wait. So are you saying, are you demeaning Kwame Nkrumah's contributions?
No, 1 second. Let him
Let him
finish,
finish.
please.
Let him land with his thought.
No. What I am saying, the point I'm driving at, has to do with the difficulty in trying to unify cultural values for nation building. Right? So if I mentioned Kwame Nkrumah's case because the Ashantis at the time, or even today, which happened to be the culturally dominant tribe at the time, ethnic group at the time, when they had political divergent thoughts with Kwame Nkrumah, the king actually sponsored, through his linguist or something like that, sponsored a new political party, sought external help, and through the use of other means, overthrew Kwame Nkrumah. What it means is that we have not found a way to unify our cultural thoughts. Can we do that today? I am tempted to say that we may have to move away from trying to go back. We may have to move away from trying to go back to unify our cultural values. Because today, capital runs the world. And if capital runs the world, if the capital is coming from the West would ensure that the strings attached to this capital would make sure that you will not be able to completely liberate yourself. If the capital is coming from the East, probably China would not mingle in your domestic affairs, but it ensures that the capital flows is cyclical. So it comes to you, but it still comes back to them. So we are in a dilemma where we may have to fix our fundamental issue of identity. Till we fix that fundamental issue of national identity, I think all other things will not work. That is my line of thought.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Great submission.
Miss Anya, 1 second. Before the next speaker come up,
Yeah,
before
I just
anybody
wanted
else
to
speak,
comment
let's take
quickly
2
before the next
minutes.
speaker.
I need 2 minutes for everybody to tap. We've been on live for over 3 hours and we're still dancing just clocking 50 likes. This is not good for the platform. We need to engage either